we are fortunate enough to have with us Mr. Rahul Das, sir, who has over 7 years' experience in the legal field, especially in the domain of banking and corporate laws. Mr. Rahul Das, sir, is currently a faculty at the Faculty of Legal Studies, SOA National Institute of Law, SOA University. Prior to this, he was associate with DevNext Consulting Private Limited as Associate Vice President, working closely with the Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, MSME, Government of India. Mr. Rahul Das sir, has also worked with one of India's largest asset reconstruction companies, JM Financial's distress debt management team for over a period of 5 years and was responsible for the Eastern Zone legal portfolio valued at USD 150 million. He was engaged in acquisitions and resolution of distressed debt. As a part of his stint in JM Financial, Mr. Rahul Das Sir was involved with securitization and recovery laws. Sir has represented the company before various forums like Committee of Creditors, Joint Lenders Forum, and consortium meetings. He has also participated and represented JM Financial ARC consecutively in two high level committees of JM Financial Group held in Dubai in 2014 and Singapore in 2015. Mr. Rahul Das sir has interned in various reputed law firms like Shardul Amarchand Mangaldas, Lexport, OP Khaitan and Company, and many others. He also worked with organizations like Central Information Commission, State Human Rights Commission, and NALCO. Sir has attended various seminars and has many publications to his credit. Mr. Rahul Das sir has completed his bachelor's in business laws from Keith School of Law and master's in business laws from SOA National Institute of Law. Sir also holds a certification in contract law from Howard Law School, Howard University. His area of interest is banking and commercial laws with focus on securitization, bankruptcy laws, and antitrust law. Now I would request Sir to take over the podium and share his experience as an in-house counsel for the law student. So please.
Thanks a lot, Sinchan, for the lovely introduction. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would really like to thank Birla School of Law, Birla Global University for giving me this opportunity to interact with young minds who are going to be the who's who of the legal fraternity in the future. And let me congratulate all of you that you have chosen a perfect profession which has a lot of scope and opportunities. Again, let me congratulate you. So I understand there are various profiles of students here, like some of them are very young and who have just passed out of school. So I'll keep it as simple as possible. If there's any query, you can always drop a message in the chat box. Okay. So definitely there are a lot of opportunities once you complete your law, and these opportunities include, one can go, as a practicing advocate. So there's a difference between lawyers and advocates. So advocates are those guys who hold a certificate from the Bar Council. It's like a license to practice before a court. So these are the people who wear those black coats and gowns and go to the courts you must have seen in the movies and maybe in real life also. Then there are other categories like, lawyers who work in law firms. So generally you join there as an associate and work your way up. There's a third category, which are in-house counsels, about which I'll be dealing at length in this lecture. And then there are, judiciary and civil services, academics, and many more. The list can go on. So to restrict the topic, I'll be focusing mostly on in-house counsel. So I would like to ask you a question to make it more interactive. What do you understand by in-house counsels? Anybody can just mention in the chat box if they feel like, if they have any understanding of what an in-house counsel is or what an in-house counsel does. Anyone can. Okay. Fair enough. I'll just explain what an in-house counsel is. You understand what a company is, right? Company or an enterprise or any office. They hire auditors for finance related issues. They have marketing and sales guys to generate revenue and many other such professionals, many such experts. Similarly, a company can also hire a lawyer who will work for the litigation front of the company. From a lawyer's perspective, you can understand, like, for example, an advocate. An advocate has many clients, say X client, Y client, Z client. Somebody is approaching for filing a recovery application. Somebody is approaching to file any copyright application. Okay. From a lawyer's perspective, you have to understand that you are a lawyer who has one major big client. That is your company. So you have to do everything for your company because that is your only client who is going to pay your salary, who's going to give you employee benefits and other social security measures. So, life as an in-house counsel, I would definitely take you through the life of an in-house counsel through my journey in JM Financial ARC and my other experiences. Usually, couple of years back, if you see, in-house counsels were the people who were always looked down upon. Like, they were considered as people who are just mere messengers from the management to the external counsels. Now, external counsels, again, to make you understand, external counsels are those people who are employed by the company for any complex matters, like the advocates, the law firms. These are the external counsels. Now, the in-house counsel has to play a very important role here. Okay. So you should not be acting just as a messenger, just to communicate your ideas, but you can play a very proactive role here. Okay, I think there's some disturbance. So yeah.
Students, I would request all of you to switch on your cameras and keep your microphones on mute. Thank you. Please carry on, Rahul sir.
Okay. So as I was saying, that they are considered as people who are just messengers, but your role can be much more than that. An in-house counsel can be very proactive. And let me tell you, we have to be more proactive than other people in the organization. And the reason is that we are not the revenue guys. We are not the marketing and sales guys who are going to generate income for the company. We are in fact the cost of the company. It's always legal cost. It's never revenue. Okay. So you should make activities in such a way that many things, like, there are many things in the company where you not necessarily need an expert or an external advisor. For example, you can always, draft your internal notices. You can, draft terms and conditions of agreements and memorandum of understandings. Okay. So that way you can reduce the cost of the company and thereby not dilute your image and position in the organization. So that way, an in-house counsel can come to the forefront and be an active member in the corporate. So apart from that, the role can be challenging also, because again, as I was mentioning earlier, that people used to consider in-house counsels as a, advocate nahi ban paya, law firm mein associate nahi ban paya, chalo, it's a simple thing, just join a company and just be a messenger, communicate ideas. Because there is no actual chain between your management and the external counsel. You are the intermediary. That way you can be even more proactive. If you are updated with the current knowledge of your domain, you can advise your management, and at the same time you can guide the external counsels also, because since you closely work with the business guys, you have a fair understanding about the company's business, about the company's operations. So you will be able to guide the external counsel, in a much better way, because you have the specific knowledge of that domain. Now, for example, how an in-house counsel has more knowledge as compared to an external advocate, I'll just give you an example. See, there is a banking advocate who specializes in banking laws or corporate laws. The work of a banking or recovery lawyer would be to go for, filing of original applications before debt recovery tribunals. Then there are NCLTs, if you are aware of, National Company Law Tribunals, and such other courts. So a person who doesn't have an idea working with, say, an asset reconstruction company, doesn't know the modalities of how to bring in an asset reconstruction company in the original application, because an asset reconstruction company is not the one who's going to sanction loans. It is the bank who does. Now the ARC, the asset reconstruction company, comes and buys the bad debts from the banks. So you need to know the specific process. And let me tell you, asset reconstruction companies have statutory powers, and they have been incorporated under SARFAESI Act, which is a Securitization and Reconstruction of Financial Assets and Enforcement of Security Interest Act. So the advocate has to have the knowledge of that specific domain also, and you as an in-house counsel has a major role to explain these concepts to the external counsels, and come and once the results are delivered, you can brief your senior management. Now that you have a fair understanding of what an in-house counsel is and what it does, many people describe in-house counsels as people whose responsibility is litigation management of the company, in simple words. But with these examples, you can understand the role is changing, and it is the demand, and the demand for talent, the demand for attention in the work, that is increasing day by day. So we need to be on our toes. Well, I won't say that we should keep it very heavy on us, because we plan something and something else happens. You just go with the flow, but at the same time you should be updated with what is going on in the industry, and you should not look like, okay, the complacent guy is not interested in the work and just does his regular work to earn money. Okay, so your role should be much more than that. Now, as an in-house counsel, definitely you will have more experience with respect to that domain, because as a associate in a law firm who works in a general corporate team, a general corporate team guy, what he deals with banking laws, he deals with corporate laws, he deals with competition law, and much more. And suppose you're working in a bank or a ARC or an investment bank, you deal with specific laws. So I'll be covering this in the pros and cons of going in-house. And coming to the in-house again, in-house role. So once you join an in-house role, you start with a assistant manager or an executive or a trainee or an analyst. These are the typical designations given to first year in-house counsels. And the thing is, the pay can be very absurd, because somebody might be getting 25,000 to start with, and then there are people who also earn up to 1 lakh and 1,25,000, which is much more than what a top tier law firm associate also gets. So pay can be really good. And with the pandemic going on, many American companies, many international corporates, they are also looking to start their operations in India. I'll give you an example. There is an organization called Rippling Incorporated. That is a company based in California. So if they hire a lawyer in America who would do their in-house work, so they have to pay them at a much higher salary. Like if you convert in INR, that specific in-house counsel has to must be earning like 4-5 lakh rupees per month. And at the same time, they can come to India instead of recruiting somebody in California. Because see, all these jobs, it's all on the job learning. Whatever you learn in law school, definitely that serves as a strong base to your career ahead. But most of these things are learned on the job. And so what they would do is they would go to a country like India, and they would hire somebody at a half what they are going to pay there. Like somebody who is going to get 5 lakh rupees there, they will hire that person, say, at 1.5 lakh rupees or 2 lakh rupees, which is good enough for us. So now the scenario has really changed, and in-house counsels are definitely, it's a very lucrative career, and there's a long way. You can really work your way up. You can join, as I said, as an assistant manager, become vice president. You can be director or a chief legal officer or a chief legal advisor. So there's tremendous scope. Law as such has tremendous scope, as I've already mentioned, but in-house counsel people also have a lot of opportunities. So now, instead of dragging this further, I'll mention the pros and cons of going in-house. Now, the number one pro or number one advantage that you will get when you go in-house is that you will have amazing domain knowledge, because you will be working in a specific law. You will have an expertise in that law if you are serious about your career. On the other hand, as an associate in a law firm or an advocate, you may be dealing with 10 different laws. So you may not be having absolute knowledge of every law. But here in an in-house counsel, you will be an expert in that particular field. Now, as I have already mentioned, the pay can be really good. If you're working in a place like in any MNC, like say Amazon or Google, your pay can go as high as 1 lakh, 1,30,000 in the very first year, which is really good for a fresher. And another big advantage, or one big reason why people get drawn to in-house roles, is the work-life balance. Let me tell you this: people who work in Amarchand, or people who work in AZB and Partners, or any top-tier law firm, who crack investment banking deals, it all sounds very glamorous. Okay, like when I was also in law school, I was thinking that I would work in Amarchand. Let me tell you, the working hours can be really crazy. I mean, as an intern, I worked till 1 o'clock in the night and had to report at 10 in the morning the very next day. So you have to go back home, eat, sleep for at least 7 8 hours to be normal and to function the next day. That you can't expect in a law firm. But there is a proper work-life balance in a corporate. Of course, there will be very hectic days when you will be on your toes, but usually there's a pretty good work-life balance, at least for a country like India, where the work culture is not that great if you compare it with other Western countries. But yeah, in-house counsel, you will definitely have a good work-life balance. Of course, and also, how can I forget? There will be a lot of benefits which you can get from a company. So now these companies, when I was working in JM Financial, we had a tie-up with, say, HDFC Bank and say other enterprises also. So when suppose there's an HDFC Bank tie-up, if I swipe anything from HDFC Bank, apart from the regular, cashback and points which we get, I, as an employee of JM Financial, would get additional points. Okay. Also, they have tie-ups with restaurants and cafes and many other places, like there's a chain called Thank God It's Friday, if you're aware of it, TGIF. So there'll be heavy discounts. There's a weekend discount, say, of 20% on total bill. Just because you are a JM Financial employee, you will get additional 20% discount. So these are many other benefits. You could get to stay in many hotels at half of what the normal customers would pay. So definitely there are a lot of pros and advantages of going in-house. Now, definitely, if there are pros, there are definitely some cons. And the biggest drawback here is that if you go in-house as a fresher, you will somehow be restricted to that particular domain. Now, even though you are going to have tremendous knowledge about that specific sector, somehow, while if you plan to, change your job, or if you want to go back to a law firm, or you want to go to a different sort of company, it would be difficult for you to enter that company, because they would expect some sort of experience which you may not get. Because suppose I'll talk about myself. While working in JM Financial ARC, there have been times when I thought that let me try going to a law firm just for a curiosity sake, nothing else. But the fact that I didn't have exposure in, say, competition law, or I didn't have exposure in corporate laws, because I am really inclined to work with competition laws, but since I don't have an experience in competition law, getting through a competition law team in a top tier firm would be really difficult. So that is one biggest problem which you can say when you go in-house. Second is, pay is good, but again, if you join an average company, or a company which has a regional presence, not a very big company, or in what should I say, in a Lalaji type companies, you may not get a very high salary. You might earn as low as 20 25,000, which is, I mean, which is okay, which is not great, but you have to start somewhere. And so the list can go on. I don't know, like, I think you have a fair idea of what an in-house counsel is and what it does. If you have any questions, please let me know. I want to make it more interactive. If you have any queries, anybody, any questions you want to ask?
Thank you so much, sir.
Chintan,
Yes, sir.
yeah.
So
You
thank
have
you.
any questions?
So I'll request the students to put their questions or doubts in the chat box, please.
Otherwise, students, if you want to interact with sir, you can raise your hand and you can ask your questions one by one. Okay, so somebody has posted a question in the chat box. Smita has posted that, hello sir, can you give us some tips to be a good in-house counsel? So Rahul sir, some tips.
Okay, Smita, as I've already, it's a very good question and it's a very relevant question, let me tell you. And, tips as in you have to be updated with your domain knowledge, you have to understand the requirements of your business team. Now, you need to be updated about the account. I'll give you an example. Say in a asset reconstruction company, there are non-performing loans, there are accounts, okay? So I need to have a coordination with my business team to know what is going on in that particular case at the business side. Here at one side I am going legal against that client. I am going for enforcement activities, enforcement measures, and parallelly my business team is working with him for a settlement or a negotiation that we can settle this account out of court. So there should be proper coordination. Okay, you should be updated what is going on in the business side. Plus you should be aware of the latest case laws, the notifications, the latest amendments. You should be very well versed with that. And I mean, you should be like honest with your work. You should work hard. You should pay attention to detail. You should be giving proper updates to your management on a regular basis. Many times what happens is we have to maintain a MIS, which is called Management Information System, which we have to update our management on a weekly basis or a quarterly basis. You need to ensure that that MIS is properly maintained with. You will learn these things as you start working, because there are many technical things which if I explain you may not get it. You will gradually understand once you start working. Any other questions?
Yes, sir. There one more question. Is it hard to get a job in in-house counsel? From Anushka
Okay.
Depati.
Okay, Anushka. Uh, I don't know, hard to get a job as an in-house counsel. See, it all depends again. It depends on your alma mater from where you have studied, number one. Number two, your own skills, how smart you are, how good negotiation skills you have, what kind of writing skills you have, how well you communicate. These factors also matter a lot. Okay. And also depends the kind of company you are targeting. Now, if you target something like a average company, I don't want to name any company, but you understand that if it's a small company with a regional base, maybe getting through that company may not be that difficult. But suppose your plan is to work in, say, an Amazon or a Google or a Netflix, getting through that is definitely going to be a tough task. Well, but that being said, definitely you should try, because you have just started your career. You can further pursue your masters, and there's a lot of scope, as I've mentioned. And even for masters, I mean, I don't want to demoralize anyone. You can definitely try in places like Harvard and Yale and many other colleges abroad. The fact that you have studied there, many companies will approach you just by seeing your CV. And yes, of course, you should also open your LinkedIn accounts, and your profile should be very formal. You should look like a professional from now on, because we never had this thing back when I was a student. LinkedIn was never a in thing those days, but now LinkedIn is a very lucrative thing. Like, many recruiters recruit through LinkedIn and Naukri. Naukri is sort of different, because Naukri.com is you have a CV and people will download and check it. LinkedIn can be more interactive, so you should also have a professional LinkedIn account.
Thank you, sir. There's one more question. What are the challenges in an in-house counsel? From Tishriman.
Okay. Okay, Tishi, like any other job, there are definitely a lot of challenges. Challenges that, the biggest challenge would be maintaining your litigations, because you have to manage your litigations. You have to update your management. And let me tell you this, management people, they don't understand the problems which we lawyers face. In a courtroom, there will be days when the judge doesn't turn up. There are days when the other side advocate won't turn up and the judge won't dismiss the matter, but he will just pass the date on to a longer date. Or there are many other factors. There are a lot of procedural problems which we lawyers face and the management doesn't realize. And they always think that lawyers will give excuses and bahanas, that why is it getting delayed. So these are challenges which you will face both internally and externally. Suppose your court has given some order and your management or the company doesn't comply, you will also get a lot of, you will be in soup. You Because you have to interact with the judges. You have to be the forefront of the company in terms of litigations and legal work. So when you visit the courtroom, your presiding officer in the DRT might scold you कि ये क्यों नहीं हुआ है? We have expressly mentioned in the order to do this, or to abstain from doing this. Why did you do that? So you have to get the beatings from both the sides. That is one of the biggest challenges, I can say.
So one last question from Bijita. After completing LLB degree, should he go for masters before joining in as in-house counsel?
Okay, Bijita, it all depends on your personal goals. Uh, I would suggest that if you are aware of this, many companies abroad, many universities abroad, to go for masters, they prefer somebody with work ex. So when you have some work ex, like 2-3 years at least, you have a fair idea of how the corporate world functions, how to be more professional. Because even when you have finished your 5 years law, still many of us are not that mature to go and work. Okay, so I would suggest that have some professional experience, work in a corporate or a law firm for 3-4 years, then choose your universities accordingly, smartly, depending on the faculties, depending on the subject. Yeah, so it all depends on your personal goals.
Thank you so much, sir. Now we have come to an end of the Q&A session, and I hope everyone has an idea about in-house counsel. And I would like to thank you, sir, for explaining so clearly. Thank you so much, sir. So, as we have come to an end of this session, I request Ms. Ishani Acharya, ma'am, to kindly deliver a vote of thanks. Ma'am, please.
Thank you so much, Shinchan. So before I deliver the vote of thanks, I would like to ask Rahul sir a question. That sir, can you please give some tips to our students to become better working professionals in the future and to also understand how to go about their career path?
Okay, so first of all, let me tell you, all the students, don't take these things so heavy on you. Be serious in your career, but don't get this thing bog you down, because these are the best years of your life. Once you start working, it's a really, I won't say this that it's a bad world, but the world is definitely ahead, is more complicated. Uh, okay, to excel in your career, you need to have certain skills, and so you should have the right kind of attitude. You should be open to learn new things. You should be updated with your domain knowledge and skills. You should pay heavy attention to detail. For example, when you send an email, okay, when even we as law students, what we used to do is that, suppose we are sending an email to a faculty, TFA, this, you have to mention it properly, because once you start working in a professional environment, you can't mention that to your boss, even to your senior colleague. It doesn't look professional. So these things we should pay attention to, because these small things, they go a big role, but they go a major criteria. It becomes a major criteria for a company to judge you. So that way, I think you should be more serious and have a more serious approach to everything in life. And yeah, so just be serious, work hard, be dedicated. That's all, and everything will fall into place. That's all I want to say.
Yes, Adarsh.
Yes, ma'am. Just before you conclude the session, I just want to raise it out. Very insightful session, sir. Good morning to you, sir. I want to ask
Thank
you
you,
one
Adarsh.
doubt is that there is a buzz going on right now is that like for in-house counsel roles, you need to have a CS degree. So is it compulsory to have a company secretary degree for in-house roles, or like this law firm experience will be like sufficient to have a like in-house role if after getting to do some 2-3 years of experience, like it we generally tend to switch careers in order to
Yeah,
move out from the monotonous work, right? So,
absolutely.
what do you suggest?
Others, as you have mentioned, yeah, in recent times, many companies are looking for people with added qualifications like company secretary, and even some companies they want lawyers to have degrees like MBA Finance and CFA and even Chartered Accountancy, which is really crazy, I would suggest. And as far as company secretary is concerned, yes, definitely, if you pursue a course or a certification in company secretary, what you can do is beyond your work as an operations, like when you're working for an ARC, for example, I was giving my example. Uh, you are pursuing your recovery applications in the DRTs and NCLTs. Apart from that, you will be also responsible to minutize various committee meetings, board meetings, your annual general meetings, and many more such meetings which are required more of a compliance role. Like you have to update to SEBI because we have various stakeholders, right? In a company like Security Exchange Board of India, Reserve Bank of India. So when you do CS, your role becomes more of a compliance guy and not you don't get into core operations. Some of the companies they do involve people with company secretary in their core operations, but usually lawyers with company secretary somehow they get diverged into the secretarial roles. And what was the second part of your question? Can you repeat?
Sir, I was asking if we can compensate this CS requirement with some experience of law firms, will it be sufficient?
Absolutely. Others, a lot of people, what they do is they work in a law firm for a couple of years. Say you join a firm. Say if you're interested in the banking and finance sector, you join a law firm's banking and financial team and work there for a couple of years, 3 years, 5 years, or 7 years, and then you can move in-house and join as a vice president or something at a senior level. There you can get benefited by having a good work-life balance. Your pay would be good. So yeah, law firm experience can really add value if you are working in a good law firm and you have some bheja up here.
Okay, sir. All right. So thank you for explaining.
Okay.
Any more questions? Please raise your hands if you have any questions. Yes, Venkat.
Good morning, sir.
Hi, Venkat. Good morning.
Yes, sir. Sir, what motivated you to be an in-house counsel?
Venkat, your voice is breaking.
Yes, sir. Sir, what motivated you to be an in-house counsel?
Okay, what motivated me? Well, see, throughout my journey in the law school, I have interned mostly in government organizations and law firms. And in law firms, though I like the work, I didn't like the work culture in law firms because somehow I believe, this is my personal opinion, that there's much more to life than just work. There should be overall growth and development in a human being because money is okay, definitely one aspect, but there are other important things like your health, mental health, physical health, family. With a law firm job it is very difficult to maintain or manage all those things. Also, I was there were a lot of people in my house who were into corporate, so I was definitely inspired looking at them. So that is what made me move to in-house role.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Any more questions? Okay, so I don't see any raised hands and no questions in the chat box as well. So I think we can conclude the session.
I think now you should have an internal quiz competition and ascertain what people have understood what an in-house counsel is and what he or she does.
So who will conduct the quiz competition?
Anybody, like you can have an internal quiz competition after the session.
Okay.
That's just a suggestion from my side.
Okay, all right. Okay, so with this, we come to the end of today's session, the first lecture of the commencement series that we have planned for all of you. So I would like to thank Mr. Rahul Das for taking out some time for our students out of his hectic schedule. And what I really appreciated was that you made everything so concise and you delivered so much of information in such little time, which is really an admirable skill, because I think to hold on to people's attentions, that is a different skill set altogether. Also, thank you for telling our students more about the professional life, your life as a professional working person, and the difference between the life of a student and of a working professional. Also, for highlighting the importance of mental and physical health apart from your career and your income. So, especially in the light of the present circumstances where our normalcy has been disrupted, and it's going to be almost 2 years now that we are facing this pandemic, and our normal lives, things we used to take for granted, now we can't take them for granted anymore. So I know it has affected everyone's mental health. So thank you for saying that it is one of the important aspects apart from income, apart from your growth as a working professional. Thank you so much for enlightening our students. And also a special thank you to Sinchan for moderating so well. And I would also like to thank the students for making the session so interactive, for coming up with queries and doubts. And overall, I feel this was a very successful session, and we are looking forward for more sessions in future. Thank you so much, Rahul sir. Thank you so much, Sinchan. Thank you so much, students, for joining this session. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for
Thank,
having me. It was a pleasure.
thank you so much, sir.
All the best, guys.